Hey, this is Joe with Grow It Build It, and I'm going to tell you all about Columbine today. I'm going to be focusing on the Eastern Red Columbine, or Wild Columbine. It's native to the eastern half of North America. Scientific name is Aquilegia canadensis, I believe. But this is a flowering perennial that gets around 2 to 3 feet tall with a 2-foot spread, and that's all subject to conditions. All the information in here should apply to just about every other species of columbine as well, or in a broad sense, it definitely will. But these things grow in full shade, full sun, partial shade. Partial shade is about the best for them. But this is an example of one in deep shade in Shenandoah National Park. I found a whole lot of columbines there over the years. And look at this little hiking trail. Look how many little red blooms there are. I enhanced that so you could see it better because my picture just couldn't do it justice. But so this is something that you can use in like a rain garden as long as the soil drains where you put it. And so this would be the high end of a rain garden. But the blooms on columbine are what make it so attractive. The blossom's heavy enough where it makes the stem curl over, and it looks like a lampshade or a bell with those 4 tubes underneath where the pollen and nectar are. It's mainly pollinated by hummingbirds and bumblebees. And if you are able to attract hummingbirds to your house in the spring when this blooms, they're more likely to build a nest, so I've read. So it might be a way for you to get hummingbirds around your house all year or for the whole growing season when they migrate north. But it's a real pretty flower. The foliage looks cool as well. Um, and it's really not too hard to grow once you get them established. I mean, and they're not too bad to establish either, which we'll get into that in a second. But there's a good picture of the leaves. The deep lobes on the leaves on this plant are really cool. The shades you get are kind of bluish green or even purple depending on how old the leaves are. Um, but so it looks good year round. This is when they're emerging at my house this year actually. This was shot just a few days ago in April. But we've got a pretty detailed article on this on our website, growbuilder.com. You might want to check that out for more detailed info. I'll put a link in the comments or the description. But that's what a seed pod looks like. This is after it's bloomed. So every flower will make those 4 little tubes will turn into 4 little capsules that'll hold seeds. And the seeds kind of just fall right out if you turn them upside down. Now this one had already lost most of its seed, so there wasn't much there. But it's real easy to collect more seed from. And if you want to collect the seed on an industrial scale, just go snip a whole bunch of the pods off, let them dry off so they turn like kind of brown, and then put them in a little Ziploc bag and just shake the heck out of it. If you shake it for about 30 seconds or a minute, all those pods will release pretty much all of their seed, and then it's no problem at all to separate out the pods from the baggie, and you're going to be left with a ton of seed. So if you wanted to propagate them somewhere else, share them with a friend, maybe do a little guerrilla gardening, this is a way to do it. And I mean, there you go. I don't know, there's easily 1,000 seeds there, and most of them are probably viable as well. So if you want to grow these from seed, it's not too hard to do it. It's best to do winter sowing though on this one because it needs sunlight to germinate and it needs to be moist and it needs to go through a cold period. So it's best just to winter sow this, which I'll put a card in the top right if you want to see what all I do for prepping for winter sowing. But for planting these, you don't bury them. You just press them into the soil so they have good contact, but they're exposed to light. And be generous with the amount of seeds you use, just in case when you're watering them, they get buried on accident. I use a little pump sprayer with a mister to water my stuff. It works great. But if you want to grow these in the summer, you can as well. But you're going to have to use this paper towel method, which again, see the card on the right. That's how you can stratify them if you want to germinate them in the summer. But these are what seedlings look like not long after they've germinated. They look just like miniature versions of the mature plant. The leaves are very identifiable, so you won't have any problem mistaking what you've got. But yeah, they're pretty easy to grow. Once they're a few inches tall, you can transplant them out into the garden and they'll be fine. It's a really nice plant to grow. It gives you about a month of color in early spring before the neighbors usually, or it's right after people's spring bulbs have stopped blooming is when these come online, in my experience. Now, I showed you how many seeds you can get. Well, this plant is a prolific self-seeder. So this patch right here that you see, I'm not responsible for most of those plants. Most of those are volunteers. I probably put 4 or 6 plants in, and now there's probably 20. And this caused me some problems last year, which we'll get into here in a minute. But you know, you're going to have to pull volunteer seedlings. Like Exhibit A, there's one right there I did not have anything to do with. You'll have to pull some volunteer plants, but they're shallow rooted, so it's not hard. But you know, this is about as mature a plant, or about as large as one will get. You know, 2 to 3 foot tall and maybe 2 feet wide at max. But they do produce a lot of small volunteer seedlings, so they'll fill themselves in. And it's better having little columbines than dandelions, I think. So, but anyways, having too many of them though, I actually ran into a fungus problem last year, the first time. And you can see the leaves are all damaged. You can see some white fuzzy stuff on some of the stalks. So this is just a regular fungus of some kind. And I attribute it to having too dense of a columbine patch. I didn't have enough airflow through the plants, and it was a wet year as well. So those two conditions, you know, caused me some problems. I didn't have any plants die. All I did was I mixed up a little bit of hydrogen peroxide and water and sprayed the every affected part of the plant. Some of the stalks I removed as well to increase the airflow through there, and the problem sorted itself out. All the plants lived. So I think I did like a teaspoon of hydrogen peroxide at 3% to 1 cup of water, and just missed the areas that are affected. That's all you had to do. So if you have if you have plants that are in a shady spot like this, it's more apt to happen. And well, it happened to me, but it's all right. Now, some people will tell you that these are like rabbit and deer resistant. Well, there's your proof that that's wrong. They'll eat this plant just like anything else. Now, they usually won't eat it all the way to the ground if it's mature, but if you're doing young seedlings, you're going to want to protect them with liquid fence or something. They will browse the foliage, both deer and rabbits. Now, I had said that I had moved a lot of my plants around. Well, if you want to transplant columbines, you need to do it in late fall or early spring. This is late spring when they're just starting to pop up. The reason why you do that is the plant's mostly still dormant, so you can move them around easily. Never try to transplant a flower when it's blooming or just after blooming when it's making its seeds. You're likely going to kill it. Also, these plants I don't think you could divide them if you tried, so it's better just to wait till you get some volunteer plants to pop up, and that's how you can propagate more. One other benefit that's cool about this is this plant in this giant pot has been there for about 3 years. I always forget to plant it, and by the time I think of it, I don't know, I get lazy because it's heavy and I don't want to do it. But you can grow these in pots and they will survive cold winters. I'm in zone 6 and it can get, 10 below 0, and that thing's lived in a pot the whole time. So if you have it on a balcony or a deck or something, you can put them there if you want. But anyways, yeah, this is a really cool flower to grow. I hope you check it out. From a $2 pack of seeds, you can end up with 200 plants in a few years if you want to. Well, even in 1 year if you really wanted to. But yeah, so early spring bloomer, looks good, is pretty tough. And yeah, if you guys like this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. You want to see more of this. And thank you guys very much. Have a good one.